Welcome back to Slay the Spire. Last we left off, we're in the middle of choosing a card, so we're going to go through that. We're going to review our deck real quick, just to kind of see what we have. Looks like we have some basic strikes and some defends, bash, some strength, and a little bit of area effect. Okay. So we can get Impervious, which is 30 extra block. It's really good for blocking a really big attack, but it does exhaust, so it's removed until end of combat when you use it. Spot weakness, if someone's going to attack, it gives you 3 strength. So it can, over a long fight, it can give you a lot of strength. And the Flame Barrier gives you 12 block, but whenever you are attacked, it does 4 damage back to your attacker. That can be useful for a multi-attack, and this is just a common, does 5 damage twice.
What does the yellow banner on that first one mean?
This means it's a rare. It's a rare card.
Okay.
So this is rare, this is uncommon, the blue banner is uncommon, and the gray is common.
Okay.
And the red border around it signifies that it's an ironclad card. If it was colorless, it would just be a colorless card for everyone.
Okay. So
I would say like Twin Strike's pretty much right out. Like there's no real reason why you'd want to pick up Twin Strike in this case.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's between these 3.
Mm-hmm. We don't really have much like in the way of like blocks and things, do we?
We've only got 4 block cards. Uppercut mitigates some damage because it makes them weak, but it's not a block card per se. So yeah, block card would probably be good, maybe these 2. The only reason why spot weakness would be even in the running is because it continually, over time, can keep giving you strength over and over and over again, and that will build up. What that's called in common parlance is that, or in I shouldn't say common parlance. What I should say is what it's called when you hear most people online talk about it. They're talking about scaling damage, and this card scales. So over time, this card will get better and better. But it's not very good for just like direct damage or just one-time go. Like Impervious is good for just once.
And you never use it again?
It's gone. Well, it's gone for the combat.
Okay.
Flame Barrier also can stay with you. But this 30 block unupgraded is still very useful against certain attacks. Because that will... If it comes up at the right time, it can just save you. So you're thinking probably a block card, one of these 2 then?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe the flame barrier. Is that what this is? Barrier?
Flame Barrier?
Okay.
Okay. We'll do the Flame Barrier.
Okay.
I think it's a Impervious or Flame Barrier or Spot Weakness probably would all be fine. We'll go to the shop and see what they have to offer. Now, this is one of the harder decisions to make in the game because we have so much money and there's a lot of things that... a lot of choices that are available. So we may take a little bit of time here and slowly go through what's available. So at the top, in the top area, you have 2 attacks, 2 skills, and 1 power. Is how it is always lined up when you play this game. And there's always an item on the top that's for sale. So right now, Sever's Soul is for sale. Then you have your colorless cards, and you'll have your relics that are for sale here, and then potions. And then here you can remove a card. It's 75 to remove a card. And this is a choice that we like to make because it takes out cards that aren't as good to make way for cards that are better.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it more likely to draw your stronger cards by doing this. So we have Blood for Blood, which costs 4, so we can't play it right away. We have to take damage first. And it costs 1 less energy for each time you lose hit points in a combat. It deals 18. So it could be 0 over a long fight. This exhaust all non-attack cards. That includes any skill that you have, but it also gets rid of status cards. So it can get rid of the slimes from the slime boss. It can get rid of wounds that you have. It can get rid of other things. And it does 16 points damage. So 8 points for 1 energy. Which is just so-so. Not really great and upgraded. This lets you draw a card and then put a card from your hand back on top of the draw pile, but then it's gone. It's only used once. Flex, we've already been through that. Feel no pain. Whenever a card's exhausted, you gain 3 block. This is a lot better than it sounds because you not only... There's a lot of cards that exhaust, and some are given by enemies. So, like for instance, slime from the slime boss, it would, if you exhaust one of the slimes that you have, it would give you 3 block. It's also a power, so you just play it once and it always goes on for the rest of the combat. Good Instincts is a block card, costs 0, but it gives you 5 block, just like a block card. Crystallis. You shuffle 3 random skills into your draw power, and they cost 0 this whole combat. But this costs more than these relics, or a lot of these relics, and these are permanent additions to what you do. And they don't take slots up in your deck, so the price of this is the main factor, I think, against this. Also, they are random skills, so they could be anything. You may need block, but they could be flex, for instance, or they could be any number of things. You usually need skills for blocking, but this could be anything. The Strawberry just gives you 7 max hit points for the rest of the game. This gives you 2 additional cards at the start of combat. Doesn't sound that great, but it's actually very good. It's a very good relic. And this item gives you anything that has X increases the X by 2. So our Whirlwind, which we already have, would automatically go off 2 times before the energy you put into it. So even if we had 0 energy left, we could just Whirlwind for 0 and get two effects out of it. You can see we have 454 gold, so we could buy a couple relics and remove a card. We could buy Feel No Pain, buy a relic or 2. We could get Good Instinct. It's also probably a fairly good option because it's a 0 block card. Mm-hmm. And at this point, we don't have any energy. After we beat the Act 1 boss, we might have some energy to work with. Let's see what we got. We've got all of these strikes, so getting rid of a strike might be an okay option. All of these relics are good. That makes this choice a lot harder.
Mm-hmm. I think it kind of like, I don't remember what it was called, the one with the X on it.
This one?
Yeah.
I kind of agree. We'll go ahead and pick that one up.
Okay.
It is the Chemical X.
Okay.
From the Powerpuff Girls.
And what was that bag again? What is
The Bag of Preparation.
Oh.
bag of prep.
And the strawberry did what?
7 max hit points. It also gives you 7 current hit points whenever you pick it up.
Which of those two you think is better?
I think that in a higher max hit points are more highly valued for the ironclad, and they're also more highly valued for higher ascensions. Since we're at a lower ascension, I think maybe the bag of prep would win it out.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take the bag of prep. Now we got 105, so now we're down to feel no pain, good instincts, and card removal. Removing a strike would be pretty decent. It just makes it more likely to draw our block cards or our stronger cards.
Okay. That would cost 75.
It'd leave us with 30, which
30.
we couldn't really buy anything else, but we just save that money for the next shop.
Okay.
Instead for Act 2. And we'll go ahead and do that. Let's get rid of a strike. It's gone. Okay, so that's done. We fight somebody, then we'll rest, and then fight the slime boss. Okay, these are little louses. But we have Whirlwind for 15. So, not a lot of strategy going on there. So now we have Bloodletting. You lose 3 hit points, but you gain an energy. Armaments, which gives you 5 block, but upgrades a card for the rest of the combat. Carnage, which is ethereal. Which is what that means is, if it's still in your hand at the end of the turn, it's exhausted. If you use it, it's still in your deck. But if you don't use it, it's gone for the rest of the combat. So if it comes up during a bad time, it's just gone. Anger is a common card that it costs 0 to use, but it's 6 damage. And then it copies itself and puts it in your discard. We probably don't want Anger at this point. Anger is good with strength scaling, so had we taken Spot Weakness, then Anger might have been a good choice. But since we didn't, it may not be.
Okay.
I think it would be between these 3. I think there's probably maybe a good case for each one of those. So let me go through the cases of each one, and maybe it'll help you make a decision.
Okay.
Bloodletting, you lose 3 hit points, but you gain an energy. Well, gaining that extra energy will let you either play an extra card, at this point, since we only have 3 energy, or it will give another energy to Whirlwind, which will do an additional 5 points of damage. Armaments, you gain 5 block, and we don't have a ton of block cards. We do have... We're almost evened up between damage and attack cards now, since we got rid of a strike. But not entirely. We only have 5 block cards. Armaments would give you 5 block, but it also upgrades a card in your hand for the rest of combat. Do have quite a few. We've got 3 of our 14 cards upgraded. Most likely it would hit things, and it also scales. It gets better over time, because if the combat goes on longer, the more likely you'll draw this card, and the more likely it'll improve something else.
Mm-hmm. Do you pick what it upgrades, or does it just pick something?
It's not at random, you do pick it.
Okay.
And then Carnage does 20 damage. So each, 20 damage for 2 is pretty solid. It's better single target damage than anything we have. The only thing that's close is uppercut. But 2 is kind of expensive since we only have 3 energy.
Mm-hmm.
But the extra 20 damage could possibly go a long way. It's also 20 damage in 1 card.
I kind of think one of the first 2, but then
Okay.
the lose 3 HP, and we only have 3. You said, right? To begin with.
We have 53 hit points.
Oh, okay.
You lose 3 hit points, and then you gain an energy.
Energy is what we're leveling.
It's usually not such a big thing to worry about. If it lets you play an extra block card, it's possible the extra card it lets you play will offset the damage that you took.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said at the very beginning, the Ironclad is all about trading life for dealing damage and trying to shut the combat down as quickly as possible. That's the way the cards work together often.
Okay.
It's much Ironclad's more offensive than other classes that often turtle up.
Okay. So then, okay, then I would say that first one, bloodletting.
Bloodletting? Okay,
Yeah.
give it a shot. Alright, now go to rest site. You can rest, gain some hit points, and then draw a card. Because we have the Dreamcatcher.
Okay.
We have some choices, or we can smith. If we smith, our choices will probably be, let's see what bloodletting will give you. An extra energy there, make the card basically almost twice as useful. Whirlwind being upgraded would be pretty solid because we have the Chemical X. And upgrading Flame Barrier gives 4 more block and 6 damage every time someone attacks you. Strength also gives you extra point of strength. This, an extra point of weak and vulnerable. So, really good choices on upgrades here. Pretty sure we can survive the slime boss at 53 hit points. If we need to, we can use a potion. We have plenty of potions still. So I think getting a card's still not bad at this point. We could still use good cards in our deck to help fill it out. A good single target damage card would be good. Or some game break. We haven't got in any of the game breaking stuff. We haven't got things that give us scaling, strength, or anything like that just yet.
So,
What do you think?
You don't really feel like we need to rest, but
No.
we should probably upgrade.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking that. The only thing is, if you rest, to just kind of lay out the options. If you did rest, it's not a terrible choice. It's a safe choice.
Mm.
And it would give you a card. And the card, since we have the ability to draw 4 cards, does offset the fact that Smith offset the Smith. But I think there's so many good cards to upgrade with smithing that it's probably better to go ahead and smith.
Okay. Sounds good.
That's my thinking. And then of what you will get here, I would go with Whirlwind. Not only for this fight, but because we have the synergy between the Chemical X and this Whirlwind, but also because in the next act, some of the early fights, Whirlwind will be incredibly helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we can only do one?
You can only pick one.
Okay. Alright, go with Whirlwind.
Well, I know I've given my opinion now, but if you didn't know, which one would you have picked? Or would you have just expressed it? Not knowing anything else.
Not
Not
knowing
knowing what the slime boss is.
I probably would have... picked the bloodletting card. Just because it gives an extra...
energy.
Yeah. But I don't really know how important that is. Right now.
Well, gaining extra energy without a lot of card draw can sometimes just not do anything.
Okay.
If you have Whirlwind or if we get a second Whirlwind, then that becomes more useful, I think.
Okay. Go ahead.
Alright, we'll do the Whirlwind.
Okay.
Move on. With the slime boss, and there he is with his 140 hit points. Okay, so fighting the slime boss. We have some unupgraded strikes, so we'll probably just uppercut him and then strike. And the reason why is if we did 13 with the uppercut and then 9 with the strike, so we did 22.
Mm-hmm.
And if we would have played all 3 strikes, that would have only been 18. So that just does more damage.
Okay.
And he put slimes in our deck. He put 3 slimes in our deck. And he's getting ready to do something. So we'll play the things that... so we're going to go ahead and play Strength. Well, it's still... We'll play Bloodletting. Take 3. Play Strength. And then use the rest of our damage. See, now we're doing 50 points of damage right here. The thing is he'll split. So below 50, he's going to split. So you have to think whether or not we want to split him just yet. So what we can do to avoid doing damage to him is play these other cards.
Okay.
So it's very possible that we won't be able to... So we want to try to get him as close to 75 or 70 as possible without going below. Or we could just take him below and just risk it. We have 50 hit points, so there's a good chance that he won't be able to survive the onslaught. Awesome. If we split him now, it'll be 68 and he'll split. But he won't attack us.
So, what happens though when he splits? Like,
he splits into 2 smaller slimes, both with the split ability. And what split does is whenever his hit points are at or below 50%, they split into 2 smaller slimes. So he'll split into 2 smaller slimes, and those slimes will split into 2 smaller slimes. And they don't split after that. Go for the split now, or try to make it to where it doesn't split so hard.
But I mean, when he splits, what is it? Does it like change what he's able to do, or?
It doesn't change. Well, yes,
okay.
Because when he splits, he splits into 2 separate slimes.
Mm-hmm.
One slime, both slimes basically do the same thing. They both attack, and they both debuff, and they both add slimes to your deck. Those are the things that they can do. They can attack and add slimes to your deck, or they can debuff you. One of the slimes that he breaks into is a gray slime, and the gray slime will give you debuff your block cards, gives you frail, and the other one makes you weak, so you do less damage.
Okay. So let's not split him.
Let's not split him. Okay. So to not split him, we want to spend less energy on attacking. Maybe strike him. Let's see. So we just do some math. We can defend to burn some of our energy. So that takes our energy down to 2, making our whirlwind do 40, which would do 78. Which that will not split him, but have him pretty far down.
Okay.
So let it block. And he's not split. But he's right there on the line. Okay, so flex. We want to split him so we don't take damage, so we'll do that. Do 15. So now he's going to have 2 slimes that are 49 apiece.
Okay.
So he's going to split. Okay, now we have one that's attacking us for 16. And one that's debuffing us. So this will block for 12. What we can do is we can use Bloodline. Just take 3. And we'll play the Flame Barrier to block most of this. And then uppercut this guy so that it reduces the amount of damage he's doing. And he's going to attack us for 12, but we're going to block it all, and then we'll do 4 back to him. Alright. So now, we don't really have much. And again, this guy splits at half his hit points as well. But we don't have enough to split them. We're not really worried. What we're trying to do is draw this whirlwind right here and kill them both.
Oh, okay.
So once we draw this whirlwind, we've won. So really we just need to block his attack. Add some more slimes to our deck, but we don't care, because we're going to do this anyway. The main thing when you're fighting the slime boss is making sure you get that good split. Because had I just played the whirlwind without thinking about it, I would have split him early and it may have been a harder fight. Could have possibly killed me. We get the money, then we get a rare card. So we got great choice of rare cards. So Impervious you've already seen, and we've explained that. Barricade, block is not removed at the end of your turn. That's a pretty potent card, because you can play blocks, and even if they're not attacking, you keep the block, it carries over for future turns. We don't really have anything that generates a ton of block yet. Like, we don't have an Impervious. If we had an Impervious, then Barricade would be a great choice. Because we could play Barricade in a turn, then play Impervious, and keep that 30 block even if we didn't need the full 30 block. Feed. Feed is one of those rare cards that lets you gain max hit points when you play the card. So it deals 10 damage, and then if you kill a non-minion enemy, minion enemies are rare. They're boss-generated enemies or elite-generated enemies. They'll have a little skull beside them. Most enemies are not minion enemies, though, so that's not usually not a factor. But if you kill one, then you gain max hit points of 3 permanently. It also heals you for 3. Whenever you gain max hit points, you also gain hit points. So it does help a little bit sustaining you throughout the fight. Bludgeon, straight up just does 32 points of damage, but for 3 energy.
Okay, so Barricade doesn't like produce any block. It just
Barricade produces 0 block by itself. It doesn't do anything really.
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to often try to play Barricade when you have a ton of energy somehow. Maybe you have a lot of energy generation. Sometimes you can play Barricade and play something else, or sneak it into play somehow. But Yeah, it does. That's a very good point. It doesn't do anything by itself.
Okay.
So it's used for longer fights. Longer fights, it's more useful.
Okay.
And with certain relics, it's incredibly useful.
Do we have any
But
of those relics?
we don't have any of those relics, so Barricade is probably out for that reason.
Okay.
It's better not to look too far ahead when you're looking at cards. Sometimes, especially in later ascensions, you just need to do what you need to do to pass the next act.
Mm.
Feed is a really good choice because it's going to grow. It's still early on. An early feed can mean that you have 100 plus hit points by the end of the run. You'll just have so many hit points that you can just take damage on the face and not even worry about blocking so much because you've got so much hit points. And you just heal and just don't worry about taking too much hit points. It's especially useful if you have some other way to generate life.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, but we could. Just purely having max hit points anyway is good in and of itself. Because when you rest at a rest site, you gain 30% of your max hit points back as hit points. So it makes resting better every time as well.
Okay, so that's probably better than impervious too, right?
I mean, we can just kind of look at what we got. I think we're good on block because we picked up the flame barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Impervious is obviously nice still. But I think Feed edges out Impervious and probably edges out Bludgeon as well. Bludgeon does do a ton of hit points in one shot. And if you get a certain relic, it can be incredible, but we don't have that relic, as you mentioned. We're just kind of going off of that. We do have a Bloodletting to give us one more energy, so it would be easier to get Bludgeon into play more often. We could probably Bludgeon and block because we have the ability for Bloodletting.
Okay. Let's go with Feed.
Okay. Approve. Now we just have to choose a relic. So this one is a little bit tougher. This is the first relic we got. We don't have anything that's just like a no-brainer on this one. We have the Coffee Dripper. Gains an energy at the start of the turn, so we're going to gain a permanent energy. So every round we're going to have 4 energy. But we can no longer rest at rest sites.
Never ever?
Never.
Mm.
We can gain health other ways, like by feeding or by special events or by potions, but we cannot gain health any other way other than just events, beating the last boss of an act. So it's
Okay.
it would probably be a challenge, I'd say, to take the Coffee Dripper. I mean, I'm not saying we couldn't use it. We also look at how many 2s and 3s we have to kind of see how much energy we have. We have Whirlwind, so we always want more energy. But the cost is pretty high. We do have Bloodletting to offset that. This, whenever you lose a hit point, you draw a card. Since we have Bloodletting, every time we play Bloodletting, that will give us a card in addition to, because we can make ourselves lose health. We also don't have any card draw. The Ironclad doesn't have many options that are good for card drawing as well. And this is just an up. This replaces the Burning Blood that we have, and it lets you heal 10 hit points at the end of combat. So instead of healing 6, we're healing 10. It gives you 4 more.
Okay. I don't think I want the coffee.
This might be a challenge, yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to do things, like if you really needed that extra energy, maybe go for the Coffee Dripper. But I'm kind of with you on that. Let's not do that for this run. we can probably get by without doing that. It won't be necessary to take the coffee dripper this game.
Okay.
So between these two, 4 more hit points at the end of combat, or whenever you lose hit points, draw a card.
Okay, so whenever you lose...
So whenever you lose hit points. So
Just
if
like-
an enemy damages you, you'll draw a card. If you play a card that makes you lose life, you'll draw a card as well. Like for
So
instance,
just anytime you lose...
anytime you lose health in combat.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say that, but anytime you lose health in combat, you'll draw a card.
Okay.
Sometimes that can be a weird interaction. If whenever you're losing hit points, sometimes you'll draw those cards and just discard them. But most of the time, you get to keep them,
Okay.
depending on where you lose the hit points.
Okay. I would say that one.
Runic Cube, it is. Alright. We're going to go ahead and stop. That's the end of Act 1.
Okay.
We'll get back with Act 2 later. And this is me, Donna, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.